Hi everyone, I hope you're all good. Welcome to my channel. My name is Charlene and this is my little YouTube channel where I talk mainly about books but also with a little bit of travel and lifestyle as well. And today I'm going to be taking you through my April 2025 reading wrap up. Hi everyone, I hope you're all doing good. Thank you so much for watching this video and for stopping by so that I can chat your ear off about what I've read in April 2025. I actually haven't read that much this month because I had one book that just kept me going for ages. But I will get to that and I will talk you through today what I've read in April 2025 and also what book pickups I've had this month. Just to quickly say as well, I hope the lighting is okay. It is so hot here today in the UK and it's got really warm all of a sudden, and then every time I check my lighting it's so bright in the background that it looks like I'm in heaven. So I've tried to adjust it as best I can, but I hope it looks okay. So the first book that I want to talk to you about today is Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. And I had a really fun time reading this book because I challenged myself to read a book in a day, and it was this book that I read, Dark Matter by Blake Crouch, and I had a really good time. And for those of you that are maybe new here and don't know me, I am a slow reader, and I know that everybody else who has seen my videos before really knows that because I talk about it in every single video. But I'm a slow reader, and so I wanted to challenge myself and see, can I read a book in a day? And so I picked this book to do it with, and oh my god, I'm so glad that I did, because so many books I just get kind of like stuck in and like lost in the detail, and or I don't know, I don't know what happened to me. It feels like I'm like not getting through the words well enough and I just can't take everything in. But this was the most perfect book that I could have chosen for that challenge because it was fast paced, it was exciting, it was one of those books that you devour and you want to know what's happening next. And it was, yeah, because the writing was so clear and concise and because it's so fast paced, I really had a good time reading this book, and I'm pleased to say I did manage to read it all in a day. And if you wanted to check out that video, I will put the link to that video in the description below, and yeah, you should go check it out. My husband had actually read that book before me, and he'd given me the idea because I wanted to read a book in a day, and he said, why don't you choose this one, because I've just read it, it was really exciting, really easy to read, really fast paced, and give it a go. So I did, and I'm so happy that I did. But he did make a really good point about this book, and that is that I love Stephen King, he loves Stephen King, he's a Stephen King mega fan, he's got a collection of all of his books. But we both felt like if Stephen King had written Dark Matter, it probably would have been like a good 300-400 pages longer. It would have been a really like massive novel. Whereas Blake Crouch's writing, you still have all of the excitement, all of the storytelling, all of the detail. There was nothing missed out, but it was just really concise, and I feel like there was absolutely nothing at all in this book that could have been cut out. It just cut straight to the point, and it was super interesting. I'm really glad that I read this book. I didn't think it would be up my street at all. It's not really the type of book that I normally go towards, because I would have seen this as like a sci-fi book, which is just not my genre at all, and something that would have been a little bit like scary for me to approach. But I'm really glad that I did read this book, and I will give you a read of the blurb right now. So let me just read you the blurb. It says, "Are you happy in your life?" Those are the last words Jason Desson hears before the masked abductor knocks him unconscious, before he awakes to find himself strapped to a gurney surrounded by strangers in hazmat suits, before the man he's never met smiles down at him and says, "Welcome back." In this world he's woken up to, Jason's life is not the one he knows. His wife is not his wife, his son was never born, and Jason is not an ordinary college physics professor. Is it this world or the other world that's the dream? The answer lies in a journey more wondrous and horrifying than anything Jason could have imagined. And I just feel like there's not much more I can say without giving too much away, and also recapping everything I've already said in my last video and going over the blurb. But this story was full of twists and turns, start to finish. It had me excited and interested the whole way through. Like I said, I think this might have been like my first sci-fi book that I've ever read, and it was just, my worry with things like sci-fi is that they lose me in the huge amount of detail and information and scientific information, and that's just not my bag. Like, I can't follow that at all. But I followed it really well in this book. It was exciting. It was such a cool concept. one that's kind of not too far away from reality, you know, one that you can kind of imagine happening. And I do think that if you're a fan of sci-fi, or if you like those kind of, it in parts remind me of like a Black Mirror episode or something like that. So if you like things that are a little bit weird, a little bit conspiratorial or anything like that, I'd highly recommend reading Dark Matter. I think I scored this a 4.5 out of 5, either a 4.5 or a 4. But anyway, I scored it really, really highly, and I really enjoyed reading this book, and it's kind of opened my mind a little bit to reading more Blake Crouch books, but also more sci-fi books, because that's how much I enjoyed reading this book. It was so good. The ending I didn't see coming a mile off, and it gets to a point where it's like a little bit confusing, but it's still so interesting. It's like, it's just so epic. And also I know that they have done a TV program. I think it's a TV program, not a film, but anyway, they've done something for Dark Matter. So now that I've read this, I'm really, really excited to watch that and compare what they're like. And if you've, you know, read one and then watched the other, just please let me know what you thought. The next book I read this month, and the one that kept me going for such a long time, was Blood Over Brighthaven by M.L. Wang. Now this book is quite a chunk of a book, like it's a big old hefty hardback. I think it's around 400 pages. Yeah, 417. And then you've got a little bit of index and stuff after that as well. So it is quite a big book. And I've been wanting to read this book for a really long time, because somebody that I follow on Instagram had read this book and they were banging on about how it's the best book they've read this year. And I really trust her, and everything that, you know, she reads I tend to like. So I was like, oh my God, I need to read this. Then I heard that this book was a blend between dark academia and fantasy, which are two of my favourite genres. So I was like, perfect. So I got given Blood Over Brighthaven by my husband, and I was so excited. This cover's had me kind of calling to me for a long time. So I've been wanting to get to this for a while. And then I got to it and I don't know what it was. Like, I did enjoy reading it. And I ended up scoring it a 4 out of 5, so I did enjoy it. But it's just that, kind of in the way that I was just explaining with the Dark Matter book, you know, when something, sci-fi or fantasy or whatever, has that much information and that much depth, and they're building an entire new world, it takes a minute to get to grasps with what's going on, like what things are, who people are, what the structure of the society is like. And this book is all about like magic and spells. And it breaks down every single component of the spell and of the magic, which is really cool because it gives you so much detail. But it also just took me a long time to absorb. I'm a slow reader anyway, and I'm definitely not a skim reader. And this just had me kind of, you know, when you get to the end of a page and you're like, wait, I don't really understand what I've just read there. So then you go back and you read it all over again. That's why kind of this took me so long to read. It was full of detail. It was super interesting, and in the end I really did enjoy the story. It's just that it took me a while to get through it, and for a while I was feeling a little bit lost and stuck at points because I think it was taking me so long. I think in total it took me about 3 weeks to read, which I guess isn't that bad, just reading it a little bit before bed and things like that. But it was one of those where in parts it felt hard to get through. But obviously I did end up scoring a 4 out of 5, so I did enjoy it. But anyway, let me give you some more information on the book. So I'm just going to read you the blurb, which should give you some information, because when I try to start talking about this book, I kind of don't know where to start because it's so detailed and it's so in depth. If you think about like trying to read Game of Thrones from the start without ever having seen a TV program or anything like that, like there's just so much information to take in, and that's kind of to a lesser degree what it felt like for me. So anyway, the blurb. For 20 years, Siona has devoted every waking moment to the study of magic, fueled by a mad desire to achieve the impossible, to be the first woman ever admitted to the High Magistracy at the University of Magics and Industry. When Siona finally passes the qualifying exam and becomes a High Mage, she finds her challenges have just begun. Her new colleagues are determined to make her feel unwelcome, and instead of a qualified lab assistant, they give her a janitor. What neither Siona nor her peers realise is that her assistant was not always a janitor. 10 years ago, he was a nomadic hunter who lost his family on their perilous journey from the wild plains to the city. But now he sees the opportunity to understand the forces that decimated his tribe, drove him from his homeland, and keep the privileged in power. At first, mage and outsider have a fractious relationship, but working together, they uncover an ancient secret that could change the course of magic forever if it doesn't get them killed first. So if you want some in-depth information and some like detail and all of my thoughts and feelings about this book, I did do a review, a spoiler-free review video, so I will post that in the description below and you can go watch that if you want to hear kind of everything about it. But that blurb just kind of really sums up what it's about. It's about this fantasy world, this kind of, you know, made-up world that exists and thrives on magic. And they have a high magistry, which is kind of like, if you imagine like a government or like a royal family, or basically a governing body of a country, and they rule the country. They design and craft these spells to make everything in the country work, but it's not as simple as that. Where the magic is coming from, how it works, the dark secrets behind the magic, and the way the country runs. It's really, you know, it portrays itself as this shining, glorious, like, you know, immaculate, amazing city, which it is on one side, but on the other it's got some extremely dark secrets. And it's about Siona joining the magistry and finding out all these dark secrets after a lifetime of striving to be, you know, get in that position in the first place. There is so much more to this book. There are so many themes. I think it was really, even though it's a fantasy book, it's really relevant to today's society because it touches on a lot of really sensitive and heavy subjects. So obviously you've got the like magic, fantasy, dark academia side of it, which is really cool and fictional, but then you also have a side of it which is very much focused on like racism, on sexism, on class issues, on lots of really heavy subjects, and it deals a lot with death as well. And yeah, it's got quite a heavy meaning to the story. And oh my god, the way it ended, I just didn't see coming a mile off. I know it sounds like I always say that, but I really didn't. It was to the point where I was reading the book and I was like, this must be a part 1 because there's no way this can be wrapped up. And the way it did, I was like, oh my god. So in the end, I did really enjoy reading it. I thought it was, like I said, really relevant to the issues that we have going on in society. I thought it was really cool with like the magic elements and the fantasy, and it did have a speck of dark academia, not what I expected it would because I love dark academia, but it did have a little bit of that, and it was a really interesting story, and the characters were also super interesting, super well developed. So I'd highly recommend reading it. I think I did end up giving it a 4 out of 5. It's just that, oh, it really did take me such a long time. So because Blood over Brighthaven took me so long to read, and even though I read Dark Matter in a day, those are the only 2 books that I read in April that I can talk about today. I am halfway through another book, and as I'm recording this video, it's the 30th of April, so it's the last day of April. And I don't really want to talk about that yet because I'm going to do another video on it, and I'm halfway through it, so I don't really know what my thoughts are on it just yet. But those are the only books that I read so far, well, that I read in April. But now I'm going to get on to my book pickups for April. So in terms of book pickups, I've actually been pretty well behaved this month, and I only picked up 1 book myself and the other 2 that I got bought for me for Easter. So I think that's pretty good going because I just found that like I've got to pull back a little bit on book buying. I'm saying that right now, who knows if that will carry on, but you know, sometimes like I just find that I'll go out and I'll be like, oh, that book looks good, and I'll grab a few and whatever, and I'll keep doing that, and then my bookshelves are just getting fuller and fuller, and the books I wanted to get to I just can't get to because I've got so many other ones, and I just keep buying them. I'm never going to get to them all. I'm very fortunate in that I have some lovely friends and family who buy me books, and I do book shopping with friends and family as well, so it's just like I don't want to have so many on my shelves I actually can't get to them. So I'm going to start making more use of like book swapping, you know, that book swap shed that's near me and things like that, and try and see if I can kind of pump the brakes a little bit on buying so many books. That's the plan. I don't know how that will go, but that's the plan anyway. But anyway, the first book that I picked up this month, and it was one that I picked up myself, was Mrs. March by Virginia Feito. And the reason I picked this up is because I did a video on Victorian Psycho, which is one of her other books, and one of you lovely people commented on that video to say if you enjoyed that then you should read Mrs. March, and I did enjoy Victorian Psycho. I thought it was one of the most insane, craziest things I've ever read, and it was just so weird, so I did really enjoy it. So I thought, yeah, okay, I got to pick that up. So got this one here. I'm going to quickly read you the blurb. Okay, Mrs. March lives an exquisitely controlled existence. The wealthy wife of a novelist, her life is one of routine and decorum. But one morning, on a visit to her favourite patisserie, Mrs. March suffers a horrifying indignity. The shopkeeper remarks that the detestable protagonist of George March's latest novel must surely be based on Mrs. March herself. The humiliation is too much. She has been robbed not only of her beloved patisserie, which she will never visit again, but of the belief in everything she thought she knew about her husband and herself. Thus begins an increasingly paranoid journey, one that may well uncover both a killer and some long-buried secrets from Mrs. March's past. I think that sounds really good. I think her writing is really cool. I really enjoyed Victorian Psycho. It was completely different to anything I've ever read before. The vibe was just so unique. And it was just absolutely an insane read. So I'm really looking forward to reading this one. Doesn't look too long neither, 284 pages. So I'm very much looking forward to getting around to reading this one. So the next book that I picked up this month was actually an Easter gift, and that is Survive the Night by Riley Sager. Riley Sager is actually a favourite author in amongst me and my family members because we really enjoy his books. We all read The Only One Left and loved it. It was such a great twisty thriller, exactly the type of thing I like. It had a great creepy vibe and all of that. So some family members of mine have read this book and they've said it's amazing. Like, they really enjoyed it. It kind of ended up in a way that they never would have expected. So I'm really eager to get to this, and I think I might read it. I think it might be my next read. I'm going to quickly read you the blurb. Charlie Jordan is being driven across the country by a serial killer, maybe. Behind the wheel is Josh Baxter, a stranger Charlie met via the university rideshare scheme. On the road they share their stories, carefully avoiding the subject dominating the news. The campus killer, responsible for 3 student murders, has struck again. The miles tick by and Charlie begins to notice discrepancies in Josh's story. And why won't he let her see inside the trunk? Oh God. As she begins to plan her escape from the man she is becoming certain is the killer, she starts to suspect that he knows exactly what she's thinking, meaning that she could very well end up as his next victim. A game of cat and mouse is about to play out. In order to win, Charlie must do one thing: survive the night. That sounds so good. Okay, I love a thriller. I love a crime book. I also am really interested in true crime, and having read the blurb, it's given me a little bit of Ted Bundy vibes, like from the campus killer stuff, but all I know is that it sounds really interesting and it's been an absolute hit among members of my family. So this is going to be my next read and I really can't wait. And the last book I picked up this month, which was also an Easter gift, is another one by Riley Sager, and that is Middle of the Night. Like I said, this author is a firm favourite in our household, so let me just get straight to the blurb. Here we go. On July 15th, 1994, 10-year-old Ethan fell asleep in a tent next to his best friend Billy. In the morning, Ethan woke up alone. Billy was never seen again. 30 years later, Ethan has returned to his childhood home, still desperate for answers. Who took Billy? Plagued by bad dreams and insomnia, he begins to notice strange things happening on his street under the cover of darkness. Someone is prowling the cul-de-sac where no one is awake to see them. Is the culprit still out there? This isn't a bad neighbourhood, these aren't bad people, but what if they are? Ooh, this sounds really interesting as well. I absolutely love this kind of book. Like I said, I love a thriller, I love a crime book, I love anything creepy, I love something that keeps me turning the pages, and Riley Sager seems to do that. And yeah, another one that I really can't wait to get round to. So those are all the books that I've read in April 2025 and all the books that I picked up as well. Not too many to talk about today because Blood Over Brighthaven kept me going for such a long time. But if you've read any of those books that I've mentioned, please let me know what you thought about them in the comments. And also, you know the kind of vibe that I like, you know the kind of books that I like. So if you do have any other recommendations for me, please do put them in the comments. Every single book that's been recommended to me via these videos in the comments, I've been making a little list of, and I'm gonna do a little bit of a book haul very soon. So apart from obviously I've already got Mrs. March, but any that you guys recommend to me, I will try and grab them up. So that's really funny, by the way. Don't worry, I've noticed the irony that I've just said that I'm not going to be buying too many books, and then I've also said in the next breath that I'm going to be doing a little haul. It is what it is. I want to buy the books that you guys have recommended to me. Anyway, moving swiftly on. So if you do have any recommendations for me, please let me know in the comments. And also, if you've watched this video, just thank you so much for watching. I would love you forever, and I'd really appreciate you if you'd give this video a like and you'd subscribe to my little channel. I've got lots of cool videos coming up, lots of things and plans and ideas in mind. I've got a little bit of travel as well, not too far away, and things like that. So very excited to bring in some cool, hopefully interesting videos. And I'm also so close to nearly 1,000 subscribers, so if you did like this video, I would love you so much if you would subscribe to my little channel. That would mean the absolute world to me. But anyway, that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching my video. I will see you soon, and just thank you so much for watching. Bye.